Hi everyone, welcome to the first Developer Direct that we're looking to run. I'm Jason Vokes and I hope you can see the screen okay here. Your main hosts today are myself, Jason Vokes, and Pavel Glowacki, so we're getting quite a few people collecting up as they take their seats for this session today. So I will explain a little bit about what we're looking to achieve with the whole Developer Direct piece in a minute. But first off, say hi, Pav.
Hey, welcome. Good morning here from Amsterdam on this very first series of the very first webinar in the series.
Good. So I'm over in the UK. John Harrison's joined us too. So we've got a team of guys. Say hi, John.
Hey, everyone.
Good. So what we're looking to do with these Developer Direct is really enable. We've heard really over the last few months. There's obviously many people out there in the developer community. There's loads of new resources coming online. There's loads of excitement around really amazing technologies such as FireMonkey. There's new paradigms such as cloud. Ever-increasing number of tiers to add as you apply your applications in very different ways. So what we wanted to do was to start a way in which you could literally directly communicate with Embarcadero, connect up developers from around the world, invite along guests and luminaries. So I guess it's halfway between a kind of radio show and I won't say TV show, but kind of like a because there are potentially sort of videos we can show, snippets of interviews with market leaders, people that use Embarcadero products, people that influence the market in more general. So we like to have guests along as well as we host these sessions and take your questions as well. So we'll get to some of the questions a bit later on in the session that have already been submitted up front to today's session and on ongoing events as well. But let's I guess really just set the scene a little bit as we go through. So for these Developer Direct online sessions, this is the schedule for the next few weeks, and really we're pretty keen for you to say what you need from these, what you'd like us to show, what you'd like to share as well with other developers, and this is why we set up some of the online services that show and enable people to interact with each other, such as the Twitter stuff that I'll go through in a minute around the Developer Direct initiative. This first session, we set it up a little bit tongue-in-cheek, I must admit, with convince your boss to upgrade you to Rad Studio XE2, and this was actually Stephen Ball's fault. No, I should take responsibility as well. But he suggested this with regards to, I guess, a sort of overview of where people are with regards to the technology they use, where they want to take it, what they've seen in XE2, what they like, and also maybe what they need from us to help you convince your business to actually get you up on the latest technologies and be able to move your software forward with some of these paradigm changes, with some of this very disruptive, in quotes, technologies that we've been introducing that really do change the game, and we'll be talking about some of those in a moment. Was that really the idea behind this, Pavel, that you picked up from our conversations through the last week? That's what I really picked up.
Yeah, I think that's the pretty important thing is to have fun around programming, and there is so much new stuff in the XE2 that I'm sure is going to be very informative, and also what is, I think, quite important, relaxed session, so it's both a good time to spend time and also learn something new, maybe see something visually stunning, and it's going to be good fun.
Good, yeah, that's right. Actually, it's one of the most important things is taking it steady through these weeks. Quite a relaxed approach to the sessions. What we'll probably do actually as we go into subsequent weeks is to put out to people that register for the series and put out some code that you can try. So if you've got XE2, you can load it up and run the project, or if you don't, you can install the trial and give this a go as we're working through some of these topics as we go through the subsequent weeks. There's obviously quite a lot around, I guess, the very independent nature of the Delphi developer by definition around the multi-platform drive that we've now got. We'll look actually at some of the market type stuff as well in this session, as we see the very varied and increasing use of other platforms. We'll get into that in a minute, really. But through this schedule, you'll see there's plenty of time to go through. If you've not heard an awful lot about FireMonkey, we'll go through some of the resources as well that are online in a bit. Looking at scalable development with DataSnap, then really back to some real focus sessions, such as the language, the 64-bit compiler, looking at what RTTI means and all of the stuff that you can now get from the developments in RTTI over the last few versions. Data being ever important, and really not just even though data persistence is really key and a huge part of some of the upcoming sessions, but also data transformation and what that means in this context. Very specifically getting through, we've got a lot of people that are taking their Windows application products and looking to move them over to other platforms, either to mobile, such as iPhone and iPad, in the sessions that are coming up in a few weeks' time, but also the whole idea of being able to just sit and bridge Windows and Mac, and we'll look at why this is really important in many of the major markets, and I guess also actually some of the fluctuations from market to market, and explaining some of the piece behind that, why we've invested so much in enabling the multi-platform development initiative over this last version, and what it will mean as we move forward. But also cloud, we actually, in the European region especially, we've been working specifically with the Amazon guys, going to their conferences, and if you'd like to hear more from them specifically, we can get in touch with the Amazon guys and look at what they mean by their AWS platform, and how they see it being used by small, medium-sized, and huge organizations. But that RAD Cloud session on the 15th is specifically around the Delphi support for RAD. I know that Pavel's done some great work. We've all got Amazon accounts. It can literally go from kind of $10 a month for personal benefit for really scalable services up to huge presence in the cloud. And of course, let's not forget the Microsoft Azure, and being able to call into a lot of organizations and work in conjunction with their Windows and Microsoft developers, and RAD Studio can make the most of that kind of cloud services as well. Then as we go through, Pavel, absolutely, you've done a lot of work on that, please.
I'm a big fan of the cloud, and I've been looking into the Amazon Web Services quite a lot, and this is really one of the key new features in the XE2 release, is dedicated support for storing data in the Amazon cloud. So we have plenty of support for Delphi and C++ builder programmers to interact programmatically with the cloud, and I'm sure whenever I present this and in discussions with customers, is very much like a perfect fit. So Amazon has an infrastructure, and we have tools for creating applications and services to run on this infrastructure. And I see more and more people asking at the conferences around what we do next with Amazon cloud. So that's something probably the most interesting server-side technology nowadays.
Nice one, yeah, thank you. So then moving through to later sessions with the Agile today, if we look at all the things that enable Agile development, the technologies that we've included to enable a complete and an Agile experience, that's certainly warranted a session in itself. And then once we come to in a couple of months' time, working through to really see this all coming together and giving people an opportunity to try things through the weeks, coming back and really getting the most out of either their trialing of XE2 or their day-to-day use of XE2 and sharing it with other developers, so developers can talk direct with one another through this medium, through this initiative, if you like. So we're pretty excited about that. And then we'll cap up the whole season for the European sessions, such as this guy. Then we'll probably take a little bit of a break through the summer for a few weeks over the summer, but we'll also be seeing other local language versions of DeveloperDirect come online. We're expecting German, Russian, probably even Japanese, Chinese, and other time zones to come on. So obviously for the US time zones, and obviously for the far Asia Pacific time zones, such as Australia, New Zealand, and the like. So over the coming weeks, this whole idea of DeveloperDirect is around online, but also there's various email addresses that you'll see, like developerdirect.uk@embarcadero.com and other local country extensions. So it's ways that you can really get the support and interaction that you need, or really through we talk to so many developers day to day. It's really so that everyone can use us as resources as part of their sort of everyday work, so that we can help to plug people together and help you get the very most from your development. So talking of that, let's have a look at DeveloperDirect Online, just a couple of pieces that are pulled together on this slide, just to make sure everyone's aware. Firstly, of course, to sign up for these events and the whole program, there's a sort of focus URL, and that's the DeveloperDirect Online that we've shortened. We've shortened many of these URLs, so it makes it easier for people to maybe use a QR code if they see it in a catalogue or at a show or an event, or obviously out in many of the communications we send. So that's going to be the focus page for these events and many others like them. So for people that might want to join it in German, obviously French actually, Thierry in France has been running Developer Thursdays, which I've absolutely no hesitation in saying were one of the major inspirations for showing this sort of relaxed, online, steady, interactive way of using the online technologies. So even in French language as well, they're going on right now. And so also, I think if you look at DeveloperDirect in other areas where we've got very key, long-standing luminaries and partners, then we'd be pretty keen to help you set up that sort of developer focus locally. And obviously there's many user groups around the planet that organize their own events, and we'd be pretty delighted to help promote, support those with regards to our sort of global infrastructure that we have at Embarcadero. The other piece that we thought would be very easy to use and scale is to use Twitter for this way. So the conversations, obviously the EMBTD Direct is the Twitter account. So if you want to start following that, you're more than welcome to. And then also the conversation tag, the Discover tag, is EMBTDD. So there's a few welcome messages up there at the start right now. And obviously we'll be monitoring those for questions and comments, and you're more than welcome to start posting stuff and adding details to those as we go through these sessions. It's probably actually the best way, as we've got us who are talking through these sessions and other people around that are monitoring this, of getting quick answers and getting yourself heard through to all the people that are participating in these events as we move forward. Cool. Any comments on that, Pavel, before we move on?
No comments. That's great.
All right, nice one. So what we've really been looking to do through these sessions, I'll probably swap over to behind this now. We've sort of introduced this stuff, is just to explain a little bit, if I just get the PowerPoint out of the way and back over to my browser a moment, because there's loads of resources online that we can, we've seen people start working with. If you just come through to the Rad Studio product page for a minute, we started to see a real rise and changes in the market over the last few years, and I think really a specific watershed. And I think maybe David, you've got idea of exactly the date this change is, when people really started to obviously use the internet en masse, but I think it was really only a couple of years ago that people started to use the internet more from mobile devices than desktop devices. And of course that really started the change in the balance of platform use. So we've been obviously supporting Windows very well, very fast, very natively, with amazing support for database technology and the internet through Windows Desktop for how many, 17 years now, as technologies have moved on. And Pavel, even I think it was just the other day on one of your blogs, you were talking about some code of yours that was 20 years old, let alone 17 years old, that you recompiled and used in FireMonkey in the last couple of weeks or so to provide some pretty amazing graphic stuff. But that longevity through the Windows platform is something we've been able to provide. You're going to, in one of these sessions, Pavel, you're going to show that Turbo Pascal stuff coming through to the FireMonkey graphics. Yeah,
that's something that I've been recently working a lot, just to play around the FireMonkey, how you practically do graphics, how to display things, and there is really, it's amazing that you can actually take some existing source code even from the pre-Delphi era, and you can actually still use it. So there's really, that's one of the best stories really around the investment into Pascal and Delphi code. You can really reuse quite a lot. So I was successfully using some of my old Turbo Pascal 5.5 code to do some generation of data for FireMonkey.
A lot of people would say that Pavel doesn't look old enough to have code that old.
Actually, in fact,
we're all very jealous of Pavel's youthful good looks as he goes around doing all these events.
It was exactly half of my life ago that I have been doing this Turbo Pascal 5.5.
Is it lies, or is it or is it plastic surgery?
Yeah, that's both plastic surgery and good genes.
Good genes, yeah. Your genes have always got holes in, Pavel. You buy them that way, I know you do.
Especially if you have a molecule viewer and you display DNA information, you can actually see these holes.
You can actually see that you prove it biologically that you've got good genes. Yeah. So really, if you look at the continuity of code, really, and one of the things that was so significant about the XE release, as we went round doing many live events, and I think it's actually kind of part of my job to add these up as we go through the year. And I think through the year, through international, there was something like 340 odd live events that obviously myself and Pavel and the guys didn't do personally, but there's a huge number of live events that we do. And going around with the pre-XE2, even with XE, we were seeing a big paradigm shift with people splitting their code out away from the desktop for a real business reason this time, so that they can take their code, run it on servers or run it on the cloud, and be able to change their business paradigm so that they could start selling services that would use their algorithms for, I don't know, maybe insurance risk analysis, or, as Pavel said, some kind of, sort of statistical analysis around scientific or market information. There's so many different verticals that people work in with the Delphi technologies. So that was a really significant shift with the XE release previously, as people understood they could kind of take and break their code free of the UI with a real business reason to do that now, and then really prepare themselves as we came through to XE2, because obviously with XE2, having separated out their back-end separated out their business code to be running on a logical or physically separate back end, maybe even on a highly scalable cloud server somewhere, then you're now looking at the opportunity to start having very rich and capable client applications calling through to those logically or now primarily physically separated back-end business rule servers. So that was one of the things that I think was really significant as we went through the last 18 months or so, talking to so many people, preparing ahead of the XE2 release to make sure that people understood that they really should be separating out their business code wherever they could, logically, to then prepare to separate it out physically. So that's one of the things that we really saw in the market, as starting off from people's internet use being away from the desktop and seeing many millions and millions of devices, and also really the demands of users. There's quite a few statistics actually that I'll pull back to in a minute, maybe after we've done some demos in a sec, and get through to be able to provide people some statistics that they can use in their own work as they explain and educate, maybe inside their organization or in with their consulting base, because of course for many Delphi developers, their boss is their clients as consultants, because they're the guys that hold the budget for their time, and so we can make those kind of resources available to you. There's an easy one actually that I've got up to here as we look through to a favorite little resource that we use as we click around some of the geos, and this is a Get Clicky. It's a nice, I say, little site. It's on quite a scale. I think these guys monitor about 300 or 500,000 websites, decent sized websites, and collect and collate that data, and then show many things, one of which is actually the platforms that are used, the operating systems that are used to hit those major websites. So if we actually look at the global share of operating systems that are hitting many of these major websites around the planet, obviously Windows is still the primary platform for these clients as they hit these websites, with regards to desktop clients in this case. But if you look now, Mac is becoming a significant secondary platform. So in many markets, really up to 1 in 5 users hitting those websites would be a Mac client. So if we then go around some of the major markets, let's look at maybe Germany, for example. So as we click through, if I remember the way in which this guy works. Okay, clicking through here, we're probably looking, I think it was about 10 or 12% of the market in Germany now using. So as this, is that refreshing, Pavel? You can see. Let me zoom in. Top families, mobile phones, mobile operating systems, and the like from there. So yeah, operating systems. Let's look at Mac and zoom in on Mac in Germany, for example. I think this will give us a bit more of a focus on that. Okay, good. So you're looking at about 12% of the market in Germany, for example, are using Mac operating system. This is a huge number of users. And of course, as developers, it's an opportunity for us to really drive in and support these users. Now, I think obviously as you look at, no one can say that you're going to dethrone Microsoft from its #1 position for quite some time. And of course, we support Microsoft really, really well, and will absolutely continue to do so. But for independent developers that want to grow their business in a way, this is a particularly significant way of doing it. If you look at some markets, this is one in APAC for those guys that might be watching out over there. It might be later in the day for them, but you see in some markets it gets to be quite high. Even as high as 20% in some Nordic markets, and I think the UK runs at around 12% as well. So there's this is kind of live data running day to day. I'll pick out some of the analyst resources such as Forrester that say about people issuing Macs in business, and also the whole bring your own device. As we look at the mobile support that's now in RAD Studio, obviously with native support for iOS, but other platforms and the mobile connectors coming in to support many other platforms such as Android and the like as we move through. But we'll get into that in later sessions.
Yeah, I think that there's some.
So if you look at the yeah, absolutely, Pav, come.
There are some interesting dynamics around the rise of the mobile platforms, and I think another interesting observation is a convergence of the desktop and mobile operating systems. If you look at the examples of iOS and OS 10 on Mac, where you have features coming from the first going into the iOS and then coming into the subsequent versions of the desktop operation system. Same for the Android and Linux, when we have Android is really based on Linux, and we see dramatic increase in the market share of Android devices, and same for Windows, when you have Windows 8 trying to be an operating system for both on mobile and desktop. I think that's very important dynamics, and nothing will stop developers and users from going away from desktop, from Windows towards mobile and new platforms. So that's something we need to follow, otherwise we'll be irrelevant on the market. So FireMonkey and XE2 is a great answer to really handle those future directions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really key. It was really key for us as the independent developer vendor, and let's not forget, it's the largest developer community on the planet after the Microsoft developer community. And of course, by the very essence, it's the Microsoft platform developer community, and that's great. But we've been talking to many Microsoft developers at shows, at leading developer shows around the world, even over the last couple of months. And in FireMonkey now, of course, these guys are looking, well, they're trying to get their head around Windows 8 and Metro, big shifts in their user interfaces, and really moving away from the Win32 SDK as the UIs, and those move forward with Metro and the like. That's something that they need to get their head around. And with FireMonkey, we've been able to show them very, very quickly and easy, amazing demos, and also paths through to share code even through to Mac and other platforms in the future as they emerge. So that's one of the things that's been particularly exciting, I guess, for us, and should be for many Delphi developers as well, because I know that many of us work alongside Microsoft guys. We've got many friends at Microsoft, and they're excited about the technologies that we're showing. And in many cases, for the Microsoft guys, they're actually really excited about the way we're doing it, because, of course, you stay on the Windows platform to target these other platforms. So as a Windows developer, and we'll go into this in a later session, you actually stay on Windows and target natively these other platforms. So even if Microsoft might be Mac deniers as such, it enables them to kind of keep that level of credibility. So that's been really interesting conversations that have gone on over the last few months with ourselves and developers, as we've worked with the Microsoft guys specifically, and many Microsoft developers looking to encompass and get their head around what's clearly a multi-platform world and a multi-mobile platform world that FireMonkey gives us that future through to in so many different ways as the market evolves and platforms emerge. And who knows in 3 or 5 years' time where this could lead. And that's one of the things that for the technologies that we're talking about now and supporting in XE2, it gives you such a strong center of gravity to still obviously work and target the Windows platform, but of course all of these other platforms that are significant parts of the market, even though of course they're not the major player, that 90% desktop dominance that Microsoft has, it still means hundreds of thousands of users that you can target as a developer, if not millions in the mobile space. Hey, Pavel?
Yeah, exactly. And I think another interesting dynamics in the market today is actually two things. One is actually going away from the traditional browser plugin model. Technologies like Flash and Silverlight are clearly going away. And
yeah, that's been quite a shock for a lot of people, actually.
The market is really focusing around HTML5 and deploying applications that don't have dependencies. That's also key for managed applications. Also, we see that more and more people are moving towards mobile native compiled solutions versus any managed, being this either Java or .NET. So that's clearly the direction that the market is going, and it's very exciting to see that XE2 is one of the main players on this movement towards native compiled solutions. And what is unique about the FireMonkey is that you don't have to learn 2 different languages, 2 different programming environments, and you can natively target from the same code base to multiple operating systems. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a lot of fun, hasn't it? And it's only getting better and better as we move forward. So maybe look at a few of the online resources actually in this session before we get to some of the demos. There's quite a few things around online that you can draw from. So I guess obviously there's a lot of the product pages themselves. So if you go to embarcadero.com, there's Rad Studio, there's specific FireMonkey pages, and like read from there. There's other kind of focus pages as well, and these have been a lot of fun. If you look at FireMonkey specifically, drawing through, and actually there's you see the poster coming by. So those guys that have registered, so we're offering a FireMonkey poster to those that we're able to send one to for the first 500 that register for this series. So well done, you guys, on this one. We'll be packaging those up and sending that out through the next few days. And there's a shot of that on this FireMonkey page that's quite easy to get to. It's embt.co/FireMonkey info, or as you can see the URL on here, I think, that clicks through. There's quite a lot of nice easy things here that go through and talk a bit about FireMonkey, but just lead through to some things like the quick start guide. Is a really easy place to get your head around if you're trying to do some work and evaluate these new technologies before talking through to your team or to your boss and explaining what FireMonkey does. Then we'd very much value your feedback on this quick start guide. It really does take you through in a very sort of structured, easy way, as it tells you how to set stuff up, where there's tutorials, and also actually David's joined us, but he's just set up a really an amazing e-learning series that I'll click on in a minute that explains more about how to use FireMonkey, gives you it really is literally an online training series with little tasks that you can test and run and everything else. So that's going to be really exciting. I know that we've had hundreds of people sign up for that, and it's It's only been up a few days now, so that's cool. But back to the quick start, as you go through, you get the idea, taking through the basics here, then telling all about developing, accessing the data, image and animations, and all of the like. So that's a really nice resource that you can click through from this focus or effort campaign that we've got going on here. Many other things. If you look through to the blogs and the like, so if we come through to, I think here's a link through to blogs, and I was just clicking on Michael Swindell's here as we go back to the blogs in general. There's an enormous amount of information on the blogs from either engineers or the product team as we try things for ourselves, as we get questions, as we post up pieces of code, or as many of us write articles and examples. I know that Pavel's been pretty busy with some of these code compatibility blogs. Pavel, maybe you'd like to mention some of your recent blog postings. Excuse me.
Yeah, sure. I've been like I said, I've been working on some of the FireMonkey 3D visualization. So I was really inspired by the Anders Olsson work on how to work on a low level in code with mesh data. So like in FireMonkey, we take full advantage of the underlying hardware. So we work with a GPU. So basically on a programming level, this means actually going into the vertex buffers and the index buffers, working with the textures. So this is all GPU based. So basically what I have done, I took this, like you see on the screen, the first screenshot is from the original Anders Olsson article on visualizing mathematical functions in 3D. So what I have done, actually, I refactored his code a little bit to really separate the logic that is responsible for generating the mesh. Also added some functionality to actually manipulate the mesh in 3D. And what is really interesting is the very good performance that you can get from using FireMonkey for 3D. This generating programmatically this mesh data takes a few milliseconds, so about 5 milliseconds. So you can really also on the other demo from Anders, you can see that you can do it dynamically. So wave interference article demonstrates that you can use these dynamic mesh generation techniques to have a really nice moving images in 3D. So I've been back something like 20 years ago. I was studying on the Warsaw University of Technology and specializing in computer graphics. At that time, I was using a PC with 1 megabyte of memory, and it was a 33 megahertz CPU and SVGA and the Borland graphics interface. So the second screenshot on this actually page shows my original demo written in Turbo Pascal 5.5 with SVGA graphics, demonstrating a bicubic surface, or also known as a Bezier surface. So basically what I did, I was trying to recreate some of the functionality that I already implemented. So for obvious reason, I couldn't really use this for this existing code for painting, and all the painting was done quite easily. Basically, in order to draw something, I was drawing white lines, and to hide it, I was drawing black lines in the same positions, and in this way I could actually have some kind of animation. But all the code for generating this this Bezier surface, which is a matrix 11 by 11 of 3D points, I was able to reuse as is and plug into the Anders code, and so I was able to actually generate bicubic surfaces. And this is actually a very powerful way on its own for creating for modeling graphics. So it's really you have just the matrix of control points, and you can very effectively, based on those control points, generate underlying triangles and render it very fast. So I think that's a great showcase of backward compatibility of our source code, and really I don't think there is many other technologies on the market that can actually say, okay, I'm taking some of my work from something like 20 years ago and use it with no modifications in the products today. I think that's something that was really a great fun to do, and I hope that somebody will find it useful.
Yeah, thanks, Pavel. I think, and then also there's quite a few blogs around that help people get their head around how to integrate existing applications with FireMonkey as well. I know that Stephen Ball's done a bunch of work around using FireMonkey forms, wrapping them up in DLLs and calling them from C++, from C#, from VCL apps, and then taking, or of course from FireMonkey apps, or then taking that library and moving it over to Mac and using that FireMonkey form wrapped up and deploying it on the Mac. On the Mac as well, excuse me. So that's something that's lots of different articles coming out. I think one that I worked on recently, and I need to blog about it, and I think that we're going to have a webinar on it in the whole sort of Rad in Action series in a couple of weeks, is around Microsoft Visual C++ app. And taking the business rules and classes out of that, and then converting that over to then run as a native C++ application on the Mac platform. So there's loads of different combinations of this, and I know that Pavel, you've also done a load of code that you made available for people on the cloud side. There was actually a message that came in separately earlier about the cloud stuff. Maybe Pavel, you could just mention this. Is the question was really is the cloud support, and we'll go to a separate topic on this in a couple of weeks, is the cloud support really sort of supporting a specific API, or is it really just a matter of running your executable on a virtual machine on the cloud service, so to speak?
I think there are two dimensions to this. So first of all, there are different, for different vendors, cloud means different things. And from our perspective and from some statistics, Amazon Web Services is clearly a market leader on the cloud space, and they do offer a number of the specific services. So on one hand, you have services like Elastic Cloud, EC2, which basically means they are running. You can run your own virtual machine on their on Amazon infrastructure, which is a great thing, because basically you have full control and you can log in with your administrator password remotely, and you can basically install their whatever software you want, for example, a data snap services, and then so that's a one dimension to the web services, that you can actually put arbitrary applications on the virtual machines. Also, what is interesting about the cloud is that you have scalability and fault tolerance. So using things like load balancers, you can actually set up the cloud to actually, depending on the network traffic and the load on your system, you can get the infrastructure to automatically start new instances of your virtual machines and stop them depending on the traffic. So that's a very powerful thing, and you don't have to do it in your code. You can actually use the infrastructure for scalability. And then all those services, including also functionality to talk to EC2, all those services can be managed through the APIs. So Amazon Web Services provides a web interface, so you can go to the aws.amazon.com and log into your management console and have access to all the services. But basically, this is just a one way to talk to the APIs that Amazon provides. So they do have programmatic APIs to all the services, so including things like EC2, you can write programs scripts, use existing SDKs to, for example, programmatically start and stop EC2 services. But what we do have in Delphi XE2, we do have specific APIs to talk to cloud services, specifically the storage services, so services for storing data, things like S3 services, tables, simple DB service, queue service. So we can actually now talk programmatically from Delphi application to the cloud, to the Amazon APIs. And that's actually, it's quite a lot of work that was done in putting this in place, because this cloud API basically, first of all, they provide a uniform interface to talking in the same way to different services. So if you write your code in a generic way, you can actually write your code once that will run against both Azure and Amazon. So that's and also quite a lot of is done around the security. So it's not that straightforward to write those classes yourself, because very much every interaction that you do programmatically with a web services can incur some costs. So there is a very strong security around it. And that's what our Cloud API provides. So you don't have to really go low level with details of a security. All those things are done for you, so you can focus on your application logic. So it's really very, very interesting. But we are going to have a dedicated webinar in few months, in few weeks' time, just on Cloud API.
Yeah, I'm just going to paste out the developing cloud applications part of the doc wiki so that people can get to it directly. So that cloud development help. There you go. That'll be fine.
Yeah, the nice thing about the when I speak to people and meet customers and developers in conferences or the customer meetings, it's nice not to forget about all the enterprise technologies that we have in XE2. So many customers, many of our users are on professional edition. They don't have all these server-side capabilities that are introduced at the enterprise level. And so Delphi is, I think, most of the people, when we say Delphi, they will immediately think about the development of a client-side applications, and specifically now with a FireMonkey, you can create a cross-platform clients. But also Delphi is about the server side. So nowadays, especially with a mobile offerings, it's not so common to have really a standalone applications. Your applications on mobile or on desktop will need to communicate with some backend services, and that's where we have the data snap technology, and also where we can use cloud to deploy to. So it's really, XE2 is more than FireMonkey. It's FireMonkey plus also all the server-side technologies, specifically data snap, that you can use to really create a scalable, performant enterprise systems.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier about really that separation, and the importance of that came through in XE, really ahead of XE2, didn't it? But obviously it's got refined quite significantly in XE2 in the last year or so. People have really been able to take the benefit of that. So a couple of things I wanted to draw people's attention towards, actually, and I think I've got, is it this one here? That's the, I'll get to that one. Okay, here's David's e-learning series that you might want to sign up for. It's going on each Thursday, starting next Thursday with May. It's in the evening for a lot of EMEA European time zones, but obviously it's being recorded. And then the other thing that's worth it is just bearing in mind is a lot of guys actually when you update to XE2, you get a free shot at a certification test. So hundreds of Delphi developers have been getting certified, which is a good sort of mark of your capabilities and your level of showing your level of capabilities. And then also even through up to the Delphi Master certification. So the only piece of that really is getting. It's a moderated exam, so you need to have someone go to a moderation, a training center, or someone who can actually moderate your exam and make sure that it is you taking it, basically, through that. But the Delphi developer certification, as many hundreds of developers have been getting certified at that level over the last few months, and that's something that we should be aware of, I guess, with regards to online resources and moving things forward. Okay, we probably better look at move this forward a bit as well to keep us on track. We're just coming up to the hour shortly. A couple of comments. So actually, yeah, if you get onto the Twitter feed, then David's been posting some resources onto that. Thank you, that's great. As well as my Cloud Earl there, and a few other messages coming through, so that's pretty cool. People saying how long they've been developing for and the likes. So yeah, so it's EMBT. Let me just flip back to the PowerPoint if you missed it at the start. Here we go.
32 years since I wrote my first computer application.
Yeah. Come on back to PowerPoint. Sorry about this. That was my PA server running there. We'll talk all about those in a few weeks' time. Where is it? Next. Bear with me. Caller. I just wanted to say, well, I guess #EMBTDD is the conversation tag, and obviously it's EMBTD Direct on Twitter, and you can follow all of that stuff. So maybe if we move over to some of the demo type stuff, really, that we were going to show some of the products, some of the applications that we've taken on the road. We'll look at some of the comments that have come out in the broader. After this demo session, we'll look at some of the comments that have come out from maybe leading luminaries and developers around the world, and also some of the things, some of the fun things that developers have done with these that actually show some serious points, as well as some of the pieces that people have found they've been able to move their applications over mostly wholesale from Windows to Mac using these technologies. Pavel, do you want to take presenter rights? Are you ready for that at the moment?
Yeah, sure. Let me actually see. Okay, I now need to.
If there's any other questions in the meantime, I'll just check to see what. If there's any other presenters, you doing it? You taking it?
I'm not sure if I can actually show my screen. My screen is actually disabled for me.
Let me just flick you over to presenter.
Okay.
That's what I need to do to start with.
Show my screen. Okay, so now you should be seeing my screen. So I was thinking actually you should actually see my Delphi. I hope you see Delphi. Okay, so maybe I've been talking a lot about this Bezier surface. So maybe I start from this little demo just to give you a little bit of a feeling what I have done. And this basically shows that you can actually create FireMonkey for both Windows, Mac, and also for iOS. This is actually an application created for Windows and Mac. So basically, when you create a new application in RAD Studio, first of all, you have a choice between C++ and Delphi. And once you are within Delphi, you can create actually 3 different types of FireMonkey applications. So 2 types, FireMonkey 3D and HD, these are the Windows and Mac, and there are also 2 specific types for iOS. So this is actually this FireMonkey 3D application. And you can actually, when you run this application, and now it's actually compiling for 64-bit, you can see that I can compile it for different platforms. And this is actually, you can load the mesh object, and you can rotate it very easily. You can actually see at the left-hand side there's some statistics about the mesh itself, so the number of vertices, number of indices, and it's really below 1 millisecond to generate this mesh. So these other functions from Anders they took a few milliseconds, like 8-10 milliseconds. This one is actually less than, after rounding, it's probably less than half of a millisecond to generate this. Also, you can actually display this as a wireframe, or you can display it as a solid model. You can use this for rotation. And it's really, you can think about creating all kinds of very innovative user interfaces, and it doesn't have to be boring. It can be quite interesting. And basically, this is the whole source code for my application. So basically, every button here is hooked to the same event handler called button AnyClick, and every of those buttons has different tag value, so from 1 to 7. So depending on which button you clicked, then you will get to the same handler. And basically, depending on the ID, this is the code to generate the mesh. And I have a special mesh bcubic unit, and this is actually where I put original source code from my Turbo Pascal 5.5 days. In fact, you can actually see this is the source code of this. This is the source code that was used as is to generate this matrix. So this net variable is an 11 by 11 two-dimensional matrix of 3D points that makes up the whole thing. Actually, what I can do, and I think it's quite nice, I can actually go again to my my Windows machine, and what I do have, I have actually my original DOS application. So if you look into my hard drive, I have a special TP folder where I have actually compiled versions of my Turbo Pascal applications. I no longer have a working compiler, but I do have this application compiled. So you can actually run this in DOS. So I have a DOS box. You can actually, in order to run something, you need to mount first a specific directory. So now I have this directory with my executables mounted as C. So if I now go to the C drive and do a dir, then I can see that this is where my original files are located. And this is actually an original Turbo Pascal 5.5 application running, and you can actually, it was some of my first takes on having an interactive user interface. So this is all obviously written, so you can actually select which view you want, and you can actually zoom in separately this particular view. So this is actually a real application created something like, you can see, 1991. So that was a few years ago. But that's actually showing some of the really cool possibilities around FireMonkey. And actually, I'm going to steal some more time, and once I'm presenting, I want to show you something that I have done yesterday. And basically, this is a Meteors game. You probably remember this classic Atari game of Meteors. So that was actually a demo that was originally shipping with a C++ product backed with an object Windows library. I think it was 95 that we have this OWL, Object Windows Library, something, the library before the Visual Component Library. And my colleague from the UK office, Roy Nelson, one of the best Delphi experts I know about, actually took this old C++ code, OWL code, and moved it to Delphi and to the VCL and to the GDI. And this application that you now see on your screen is actually a refactored version of this VCL application. So what I have done with this existing code, first of all, I have removed some of the code that was directly in the form itself into a separate unit. So refactor as much as possible from this FireMonkey, from this VCL form to have a unit that can be more independent. So I have different classes here. There is a basic sprite class that has some basic functionality and virtual abstract method for drawing, and there is a sprite list that can iterate through all the sprites and draw them all. And there are different objects like meteors, like shots, like debris, like a ship, so, and a sprite message. So these are the different types of sprites that are uniformly handled through this sprite list collection. So that was actually, this code is based on actually on a VCL. So you see there is a canvas from the graphics, VCL graphics. So basically, I wanted to move this code to FireMonkey, to Mac, and to iOS. So basically, the idea here was to actually, first of all, try to reuse all the game logic that is not connected with drawing. So this code should be directly portable. So basically, I have also, like in Delphi 2010, when we introduced a specific Direct2D support for Windows 7, I have actually moved this application then to Direct2D. But now we are using FireMonkey on Windows is also using Direct2D for drawing. So that's actually no point anymore. But basically, that's my original GDI version of the application. And then this is the second one is actually a FireMonkey application. So what I have done is actually to take this logic from the form, and it was very straightforward to actually move this to actually my FireMonkey form. There were some little things. For example, notice here to find out what is the key, we have this WK left, and now without the underscore, and in the past it was with the underscore, so there was one thing to change. But otherwise, this game, the form logic is the same. And now with the sprite unit, I have a different version that actually is now using a FireMonkey canvas and not the VCL canvas for drawing. So there were some, actually the most of the work was related to the fact that FireMonkey is using floating point coordinates and not integer-based coordinates for drawing. So I had to change in quite some places, for example, from T-rect to T-rect-F, and from T-point to T-point-F. And basically, the logic for drawing is quite straightforward. So you can actually see that I have the canvas, which is the FireMonkey canvas. It's something very interesting because it is an abstract class that is implemented on Windows with a special DirectX 9 based class, and on Mac with an OpenGL based class, and on iOS with an OpenGL ES class. So basically, with FireMonkey, you just call the methods of the canvas class, and then you can write code that is portable across different platforms. So that's a very powerful thing. So you have on canvas method, you have things like, I can actually show you this class. So this is the canvas class. So these are all the methods that can be used across different programming, different operating systems. So specifically, most of the time you will be, for drawing, you will have things like draw line, fill rect, fill path, draw polyline, and those kind of things like this draw polygon, where you just specify the points. And also with FireMonkey, those drawing procedures are also taking the opacity parameters, so that's something you need to provide on FireMonkey. So basically, I have copied this file, replaced some of the code for drawing. So you can see the debris is just a drawing one line, and you basically, the draw line will take the coordinates of the starting point and the end point, and you can actually draw line very easily. So this is a little bit more complex code to draw a ship, and yeah, that's actually all very straightforward. So it's not that FireMonkey is for writing games, but these games, especially if is something that programmers like to write. So I don't want to give you an impression that FireMonkey is for game development, is for business applications, but that's also nice to actually try to move some existing code like this code and see what kind of things you can encounter. So this application is now running as a FireMonkey application. I can actually compile it for Windows 64-bit, and also I can, with no problems, I can actually just change the profile, and I can see if I can connect to my platform assistant server running on my on the actual Apple machine. I can. So now if I run this application, I can see now that this is now going into the into Mac. So now I have my exactly the same source code with no changes now running on Mac, and as a programmer I don't have to worry that on Windows it's a DirectX or Direct2D, and on Mac this is different libraries. Okay, so the next logical step for me was really, okay, how would it take to actually move it to iPhone, to iOS? So of course you cannot have it in the same project. So basically what I did, I created a separate iOS project as a FireMonkey HD iOS, and created a brand new form for FireMonkey. So that's again, the idea was to keep it as similar as possible. So, but for obvious reasons, when I started to actually move it, I realized that on a FireMonkey form, that's a FireMonkey form, I don't have keys. I don't have a form key down. I don't have a form key up. So that was a question, okay, how do I handle user input? So I have actually decided to use just a regular buttons and glow effects. So when you press a button, it is enabled. It's like pressing a key on the keyboard. The side effect that you can have more than one key pressed at the same time. Only when you press left, it will be actually disabling right. So it's mutually exclusive. So you don't have a left and to the right.
There's quite a nice effect that Anders has done on some of his iOS apps, isn't there, with like the little wheel and that sort of button activity included in a little wheel as well. But that's something that we can get into in a few weeks' time, that with that sort of standard look, to get from a button-based requirement over through to a touch phone. And I know you see it in a lot of iPad apps as well. They've, it's just where your thumb would go, that you've got that kind of equivalent but very intuitive UI onto a touch device, isn't there?
Yeah. So that's actually, it's a slightly different thing. And to be honest, yeah. one of the I have this book, iPhone game development. And actually, this asteroid game is actually depicted there and using Objective-C. And one of the goals of my exercise here was to see how much easier it is to create an equivalent iOS application. And it's really, it's so much easier to do this in RAT with components, as compared to do it in a low level with Objective-C code to actually get the same kind of effects. So basically, let me show you how this actually works on Windows. So when you create, actually you can see that I can do things like destroying my ships, and finally I destroyed it. So you can see actually that when I press a button, the glow effect is actually showing. I have still problems with displaying the score. It's not really working correctly. It is just testing, but it was more to see if I can get it to run. And of course,
yeah, just want to show that actually we've had a question come in about FireMonkey 3D, and the question is regarding 3D. It's Hans Lundin has asked: is it possible to connect a 3D television set that supports 3D with goggles and get the depth like a 3D movie? I know that the guys have actually done effects, a 3D effect on some apps that give you that depth, but I don't know if it's actually like a 3D movie effect, but more like, I guess, it's more like the Game Boy type 3D effect, isn't it, than a video effect? I don't know if you come across any of that, Pavel.
No, not really, but I know what you mean. So basically, just to be able to see the 3D graphics like television. But I have not seen any of those. The one that is quite close is the Kinetics, the work to interface with a Delphi code from a Kinetics device. And okay, so now you can actually see now my meteors just starting in the simulator. So now you can actually see that this is now working also on my simulator. So that's actually probably the most complex FireMonkey iOS application that I have written so far. But I think that's a really good thing.
You've got to fire some bullets soon.
You can really now play with it. But that actually, if you think about it, that's a great story. You can actually see that from one source code you can target 3 different operating systems very easily. So the changes that I have to make to get from FireMonkey Windows and Mac to FireMonkey iOS was only really these 2 ones. So basically on iOS you cannot have units with dots in names, so I had to create a separate unit with different types, but basically the contents of these files are the same, so you don't have to do much. And I have also changed the default display size to match iPhone display. But otherwise, I have not touched the logic code at all. So it was just a matter of recompiling for iOS. So I think that's an incredible story to convince your boss to invest in XE2, because there is no other solution like this on the market today, where you can really, from the same source code, you can target natively multiple operating systems, and specifically iOS. And we are going to discuss this probably, but in future we are going to have more operating systems, including Android.
Yeah, thanks, Pavel. That's it's an interesting first take on all of the different types of platforms that we support in XE2. The one thing that I was going to ask is maybe you could show the guys the form flow and biz flow that works through and some of that stuff. Just I guess actually for form flow, so that it's a very familiar 21st century kind of UI that people might not have readily coded against to date, but how very easy it is, and the structure behind that UI to get that level of presentation to that level as well would be quite good.
Yeah,
we've got time, so you on time.
I wanted to because if you have been on some of the presentation that we've been doing live, that's one of the key demos that we present is the Fireflow demo. That's a demo created by Andreano, and actually demonstrates some of the cool effects around the types of applications that you can now build with FireMonkey. So you can see actually the reflection effect that is created on the fly. You can see the use of FireMonkey styles. So for example, the progress bar at the bottom of the screen is actually not standard, it's just styled. And also the very same the same experience you can actually see on Mac. So you can actually, from the very same code, you can actually create applications that have the same look and feel on multiple operating systems. So that's a Mac version just recompiled to
Yeah, one thing that's worth pointing out is that the rendering on through the online webinar service is a little bit jumpy compared to what you actually see on your physical screen, isn't it? It works a lot smoother on your screen.
Yeah, it's much
a lot more frames per second.
Yeah, you can actually see that that's some of the important building blocks of in FireMonkey is the use of animations and the use of effects, and also what is important is that the new possibilities for creating user interface. So now with a 3D capabilities, we can create. You can really rethink the way the user interface is being built. So maybe no longer you need to have a number of two-dimensional classical forms, but maybe you can have just one 3D form with this information from multiple 2D forms presented on a layers 3D. So this is actually, you can see the layer 3D is a very handy component that can be used as a surface to place traditional two-dimensional components. So in this way, you can have a three-dimensional application, but you can interact with typical controls in a 3D space. And also, that's also another interesting thing is the use of the RTTI. So with RTTI, we can actually specify the properties that we want to actually animate using just string and not the property itself. So you can actually see quite a lot of interesting code here actually to set up those changes in position or browsing through the different elements. So that's actually the code from the original demo. And what's also interesting is that the same metaphor was used by Steve Ball to actually go one step further and do this for displaying different information. So in the first demo, we've been actually presenting different images from the coming from the folder, but now we can see that the same metaphor can be actually used, for example, for browsing through data coming from a database. So we don't have just one 2D form when we actually scroll through data, but we can do it much more interesting with some reflections, with some animations. So that's really very...
They're all editable, aren't they, as well?
Yes, really, of course, we always use these fish facts, but this is actually the last one is not a fish fact. You can see that that's a different form, still using this reflection. So there are really, with FireMonkey, with a 3D, there is brand new world of thinking how to design a user interface that is interesting, that looks modern, that you don't have to be ashamed of. Actually, the next demo, it goes even further. So actually, that was a demo created to showcase some of the possibilities inside of the FireMonkey with physics, with some more realistic user interface. So there are three components here: magazine stand, postcard track, and Rolodex, created by guys from Datox from Poland. And this is actually a demo that actually demonstrates browsing through photos, but in an even more attractive way. So I have a folder full of pictures in different types, and depending on your go-to webinar settings, you can actually see this more or less smoothly, but you can see some simulated physics. So these images are not really displayed in a kind of a boring thing, but you have really an impression of a real magazine stand. So you can actually use FireMonkey. These are just components to create a very innovative and interesting user interfaces with simulated physics, so you can actually achieve even better results. So that's a magazine stand. There is also a Rolodex, so that's a different component. You can actually use this to actually simulate browsing through photos you can actually open this easily, and this is really something that without the FireMonkey and using a traditional methods, that would be very hard to achieve. And these are just components. You can just use them in your application. And probably my favorite is a postcard rack. This is actually presenting the same images from the same folder, but in just another way. So you can see actually that different levels, different rows can independently circle. So that's actually, I think, great showcase of possibilities that the FireMonkey provides for creating innovative and new generation user interfaces.
Just before we excuse me, Pav, just before we show a few more short demos, maybe we could just take a quick poll. Actually, we've got a couple of things we wouldn't mind asking people that are online. Is the first one? Let's fire this one off. Is if we launch this poll, and if you can see it as a quick poll, just come up here. Is, are you currently developing professionally using Delphi? So if you just click on that and then submit, that would be great. And we're seeing. So we've got working through, it's going through as it flicks up. We've got just under 70 people. Yeah, so just over 70% of people, actually 75% of people now, as it settles down. Thank you. Are using Delphi professionally. So I'll close that one off. Here's another interesting one, actually, just to see, is if we launch this poll just very quickly. Is how many people are developing professionally using C++. So we normally pick up about, I guess, about 20–30% of people around that. If you look compared to the RAD Studio guys, this is settling out. So it's actually just under 10%. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. All right, sorry to crash your demo.
No problem. I was just finished with the demo. So.
All right, good. So yeah, it shows that actually with the ease, there's a few things that we'll go into a bit more detail with regards to the way that you get through from Windows to Mac so smoothly, or also how the excuse me, how the iOS stuff, and you work with that with regards to the projects and everything else as we go through the sessions. Have you got any further comments or bits you'd like to show in there, Pavel? I don't know, actually, one of the things that we were going to do was just a quick walk around the IDE itself and some of the new bits and pieces. Is while you got the presenter view, do you want to just have a quick look through some of the tools and bits and pieces that are there?
Yeah, sure.
Specifically with the FireMonkey stuff.
So it's, of course, there is more than just a FireMonkey in XE2. So probably to convince your boss to upgrade to XE2, the FireMonkey will be the main reason, but there is plenty of other reasons to use inside of the IDE. So some of my favorite ones is, for example, this new documentation insight. So you have a show documentation. So basically, it's good to have some file open with some documentation comments. Actually, I know that this is a Cloud Explorer. That's a code actually demonstrating those Cloud API that we have been talking about. But the thing that I'm using is that these files that makes up the Cloud API implementation are very nicely commented using these XML documentation comments. So you can actually see those special comments that starts with 3 forward slashes and not just 2. And so now with documentation inside, you can very quickly actually browse through the documentation easily. So this is actually very, very handy. You can actually, just depending on your current selection inside of the editor, you can see different information. So you can actually see summary, you can see remarks. And also what is nice about it, that you can use it to actually create your own documentation comments. So not only for visualizing and extracting documentation from the source code, but you can also, for example, if I'm here on my some code here, I can actually start coding. I can select this and say this is my special thread. Yeah, special thread, and you can see that as I type, this comment will actually be inserted in the right place with a proper XML documentation tags that I don't need to remember the syntax of. So, and this is my remark. So this is a very handy, because with XML documentation commands, this documentation that you use actually can be also visible inside of this pop-up window that when you hover with your mouse over the identifier in the source code, you can actually see the associated comment. So this can be very handy, for example, when you have your classes defined in one unit and you use methods of this class in different unit. So you can just, by hovering on different identifiers, you can actually see some of the data. So that's some of the new things. There is also a new support for zip files. I don't know if I have somewhere handy the special demo with my zip files. Let me very quickly find it. I think it should be somewhere here. I think I have a little demo demonstrating the zip file functionality. So that's something, it's a small thing, but it's a nice thing that you can actually now programmatically work with zip files. So this is actually, you can see that I've been playing also with documentation comments. So there is this brand new system.zip class, or actually unit, that contains a tzip file, and it's also very nicely documented using documentation commands. So you can actually see the documentation for the zip file itself. You can create programmatically zip files. You can extract data from zip files. That's something that was introduced brand new into the XE2. And then from the sheer ID perspective, there are some things related to, for example, to deployment. So due to the fact that we now can deploy to remote machines, we have a full control of what goes into a remote machine. So there's a brand new deployment. There's also another, maybe not so well-known new feature in XE2. It's called template libraries. So that's actually a template library that that was the mechanism that was there in Delphi 2007. At that time, it was used primarily for ASP.NET CSS templates and having different pre-built applications. And at that time, Nick Hodges was a product manager of Delphi, and he coined this term improved start from scratch ability. And that's actually, I've been presenting this Monday on a Delphi FireMonkey 3D programming session, and I created this template for adding camera. So instead of, if you want to have a FireMonkey 3D form, one of the first things that you would typically do is to actually add some code to manipulate camera. So I wanted to create such a template, so instead of starting from a blank application, you can actually go and start from something already pre-built. So let me show you where I put this this code. So here on my projects file, so that's a users, no, that's a Windows. On users, we have Pavel G is my user, my documents, my RAD Studio. No, it's for all users. So all users, Embarcadero, RAD Studio, and actually no, it's not this one. There is my documents, RAD Studio, Where should it go? Oh, here it is, RAD Studio 9.0. And these are actually demos. But basically, I put this template as an XML file, but I need to know. I know what's going on. I'm running on a virtual machine with an integration with a host. So my project files will be actually on a Z drive. So I can go out from here, and I have my RAD Studio here. And here, next to projects, which is a standard place where all the new projects are created, I created a separate folder called Proj Template Libs. And you have to provide a special XML-based file with an extension BDS template lib. You can actually see that basically tells the IDE what is the name of the new project and where to find the actual project file and where is the directory of this project, file path. And this is basically telling the IDE that you can actually now use this project as a kind of a template. So I can actually show you this project directly, but first I need to close my zip demo. So if I open this project from here, you can actually see that's a simple viewport with a camera, and that's my just a simple application that does not do anything useful but contains some basic code for working with a camera. And that's a typical code that you would reuse across different applications. So instead of doing this all the time the same, I can actually go and create it from the new items. So I have actually, using these template libraries, I have added this BDS template lib file to the IDE, and the result is that now in the file new other, I can actually see my own form HD with camera. There is a little bug currently in the IDE that is okay. I'm going to show you this. So first I'm going to select this, click on OK, and basically the IDE is now asking me, okay, where I want to copy this template. So basically what IDE is going to do is to take the contents of the, maybe I go into the temp directory. It will take the temp directory, and inside temp directory maybe test run, and click on this test, click on OK, and I will get this little error basically saying that BDS Proj was not found. That's because we have now a different extension for the project file. Is dproj, not BDS Proj, so that's the reason it cannot be found. But I can now basically find inside of this drive, I have those, it was demos, I think, and a temp directory. No, it was my articles, I think, or even events. Where I put it down, that was in articles, temp directory. No, it was not articles. Where I did put it into my projects. No, let me do it one more time because I've completely forgot where I put it. So that should be very fast. I'm going to do it in a place that I will easily remember. So computer, C drive, and maybe in a data directory. Okay, click on OK, and now I should be able to easily find my project in a data directory. Here we go, and that's my form HD with camera. So basically, that's a nice, not very well-known improvement in the IDE that you can actually, now I can actually go and add some 3D shape here to visualize it. For example, I can add maybe a cylinder, and this cylinder should go into the viewport. So now if I run the application, I have the functionality of manipulating the camera and responding to the user input. So now I can basically start from the improved level of a scratchability. So that was of course there is more, but just these two were one of my favorite new features: documentation inside, a new zip file, new support for template libraries.
Yeah, there's a few things that we'll get into through the weeks, and one of the things that I know that has been quite interesting for people that have been using, I think to use your term actually, Pavel, boutique databases. Obviously, all of the main and latest versions of the enterprise database servers are supported through Oracle and SQL Server and DB2 and the like. But there's an ODBC driver has been providing support with DB Express as well. That's opened things up for a lot of guys to be able to move forward with maybe specific kind of embedded support and lots of other things. We've seen a lot of people pick up with things like that. I guess actually, if you look at it, I've mentioned embedded and database, then obviously through with the natural support that we like to give Interbase, because so many people in the Delphi community use Interbase and deploy against it. There's obviously the developer integration with Interbase and that server that you get to test against, but there's a lot of development going into Interbase, with it being supported on Windows and Mac now, and obviously 64-bit. And if you've been to the right demos in the right places, you might have even seen it running on other platforms beyond. But we'll talk about that a bit later, really. Good stuff, Pavel. There's been some good, well, hopefully some useful tweets that I know that myself and David have been putting up with regards to other components as well that support XE2. A lot of people use T-Chart, and T-Chart's available for business graphics and FireMonkey, and also the guys at TMS have put their instrument, have developed some instruments, some really very impressive instruments. You might need to refresh that, Pavel. I think it's might have been on there. So there's a component says, and then maybe select all, and you'll see all of the latest stuff. A lot of things have been appearing through the last few weeks and months to support FireMonkey and make sure that everyone can have that the capabilities that they need to help them move forward. There's some fantastic things that we'll show you coming through the weeks with the way that you can extend and develop your own components, and the whole FireMonkey style mechanism that makes it super easy. But that's yeah, there you go. And if you select all there, Pavel, just on you get all the latest tweets on the little blue all link there. Oh, yeah, that is you, isn't it? I wondered if it was me driving the screen from there.
Do you want to take over the screen?
Yeah, can do. As we come back through, we've looking through for questions that are coming up here. Nice wishes from Thierry, the board. Thank you, Thierry. You are the master of the discussion. Of the discussion webinar, and I got back to Hans, I think, on his question. I know other questions coming up on the meantime there. Let me take back presenter for the meantime, though, then Pavel, from you. Thanks for those. I know that we'll be doing lots of other presentations as we go through the subsequent weeks. Just back over and flick back to me, and the attendees have been steadily building up. I think the great things, from talking to many people at events, am I showing my screen now?
I can actually see.
Good. You can see you and me on a slide there, can't you? And believe me, it's not very often people catch me with a shirt. I don't think
you're showing the screen. I can see the splash screen.
Okay, there you go. That's good. Let's get that back up again then. That's the start and finish one. So, okay. Yeah, you should be able to see it now. So, yeah, it's not very often people get to see me with a shirt and tie on nowadays, but there you go. Yeah, as we go through these sessions with people dropping in and out and asking questions, it's also not just about the online session, the couple of hours a week that that Pavel, myself, and the guys will be online. There's this ongoing DeveloperDirect.online at embarcadero.com. So even through if you've got questions that you don't want to ask in an open forum, obviously we work with a lot of people on their own specific initiatives and projects for their own specific market and their own specific code, and they'd be a bit wary of giving away trade secrets in an open forum. Then drop us a line, and we're constantly signing mutual confidentiality NDAs, non-disclosure agreements with people as we help to give them the vision of what's going on moving forward with us. And actually, if you'd like to hear more than we're able to say in public, then drop us a line, and we can. I know that Pavel, Steve, and the guys were always travelling around meeting with people on site at their own location, having online meetings specifically to work with people, or working through with cases to make sure that you can get done what you need to do. Beyond that, though, actually, there's a couple of things that are quite easy. If we just talk about some of the general platform stuff, back through to my browser again. Oh, it's a funny one, actually. If I go back to where was it? I think I had it lined up just from the FireMonkey piece. Is that this one? Or have I gone too far beyond this? Let's just refresh that one again. There was we're always talking about business applications, and of course it's easy to show the game stuff. I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's a nice little Forms app here. But then someone then gives it the Angry Birds touch, and the whole UI collapses to the bottom of the screen there. So if you really wanted to infuriate your users, and a nice little Easter egg there that you could put in, that you wouldn't want to put into your applications. And what's funny is the UI even continues to work, even though the order of the application is pretty much shot there. I'll put that up on the conversation so that people can have a laugh and threaten their requirements guys that this is a requirement for their new FireMonkey project. Just a bit of fun. But more in general, I think if you look at some of the pieces that we're looking at as we move forward in general terms, is we've had quite a few updates to FireMonkey. Obviously, it's a complete platform, and it's not just about components. So even though there's all these different components that you can take and use, it's really a whole engine. There's the graphics engine. There's the taking the very quick, direct responsibility through to enable you, as you saw, to write to the canvas directly and very quickly have the executable work and target the GPU, which otherwise would be an enormous amount of work. So very frequent and regular updates as we extend and drive the FireMonkey platform itself is what we've had through the XE2 timeframe. I think we're now really working through. I've just released update 4 recently. What I've got showing you here is actually a recent blog from John Ray Thomas with regards to the a roadmap comments and where we're looking to take this. If you look through with reworking our whole compiler base, so really with the view to be able to much more easily and much more completely target multiple hardware and operating system targets. So it's no small undertaking to actually rebuild and re-architect a whole suite of compilers. But that's what the guys have been doing for a couple of years now, and continue to do so. So you'll see it in the future as we move forward. We'll be much better able to really bolt on other operating systems and hardware platforms as the market demands them. So to one of my comments earlier on in the session about, well, you know, who knows in a year, in 3 years, in 5 years, what platforms will be demanded by our users. Obviously, at the moment, we're looking at Windows significantly, and changes to the Windows platform as we move forward in the next few months. Excuse me. Then through to Mac, obviously, and Mac in itself as that moves forward. iOS, extending and adapting and improving our iOS support. Then if you look, we've already committed to support for Android as we go into the future, and then other platforms as we move forward will be really significant. Providing and extending our compiler platforms is really an important part of that as we move forward into the future with that independent approach as a developer tools vendor. Then if you look at, obviously, 64-bit for Delphi, but it's going to be really important to get that 64-bit support for C++ as well, so that's one of the things that we've been working on, and you'll see more information from that. Then expanding out and embracing mobile. I remember a couple of years ago, people would say, "Oh, when are you going to get WinCE support? We really need WinCE support," but supporting that individual platform really didn't make sense, as we'd have been coding directly to it, tooling directly for it, but really what you're seeing now with regards to the mobile support and the way that the targeting can work, as you've seen Pavel today, right click and then target a different platform, or take his code through and be able to wrap it using FireMonkey in that way, makes a lot more sense as we've got very powerful, sophisticated smartphones. They've got GPUs in their own right. They've obviously got all of the sort of location, accelerometer, and camera support. All of this is something that we're only going to improve. Excuse me, that kind of support that we provide you. Then through to working on ARM support directly. That's something that's really exciting. We'll be talking more about that in the future. But he's just flagging out the ideas that the product group have been talking about, discussing, and also finding out what you guys need. So more from this as we go through the next few weeks, really, but I just wanted to flag and look at a bit more in the future. And as part of Developer Direct, we want to hear what you guys are working on, what you guys need. And of course, even in the tool set with XE2, a lot of guys are finding the RAD PHP inclusion in the RAD Studio suite providing an amazing amount of current mobile capability, and that's something we'll also look to cover as we go into the following weeks. So just keeping an eye on questions here. If you don't have any questions for us, and I've certainly got, I guess, another one for you that I can ask and just launch this poll here. Is quick question now is how many people are currently using XE2 that are on the that are attending the session at the moment? If you wouldn't mind just taking a moment and clicking out there, so as we go through and let that settle out a bit more, you find it quite easy. Just click yes or no and then submit the poll back as we do. It's great. So quite a high number of people already on XE2. So I'm sure as we go through this over the coming weeks, we'll be able to help and support you with your development questions as we go through. So that's great. Thank you very much. That's 80% of people on this joined us today are on XE2. And then one final one, and then we'll probably go to some sort of closing comments and stuff as we go through to it. If I just launch this poll, is do you use other developer tools as well? If so, which? So that would be quite useful. Quite often you find that people have got a developer desktop that includes all sorts of tools. So that's one of the things that would be quite interesting to see and know, especially as we go through to maybe show you maybe .NET backend, .NET Web Service backends working with FireMonkey clients, or all sorts of pieces that we're working through in time. So that's interesting. So we've got 67% no, just working in Barcadero. Obviously, these aren't mutually exclusive either. Then we've got 17% no, just gone down to 15% now using Visual Studio.NET. We've got no Visual C++ guys on, no Eclipse guys on, and 29% using other. So great, that's really, really interesting. Thanks for a bit of feedback there. Pavel, as we come through to the hour, are there any comments or questions? Or actually, I guess, David, you're still online. And John, I don't know if you've been picking up on pieces as we've gone through the couple of hours, or if there's comments and questions that you might want to make, or if other people have been pretty busy. It's been a lot from Dave, a lot from good information from David. Actually, that's great. Thank you for pushing stuff out on the #EMBTDD conversation tag on Twitter, and I look forward to seeing more of that as we monitor that through the coming days. Any comments from you guys as we go up to close? Yeah, that's quite a nice point, actually. Oh, sorry. 4 in the morning. It's actually that's a good point, actually, because I had Delphi feeds tucked up here from yesterday, and there's a comment in here about EDN in your pocket, and you mentioned Anders' iOS work. What he's actually done is he's been working to getting an app up onto the App Store, FireMonkey app, that provides you on your iPhone access to all of your EDN licensing stuff, so you can see what Embarcadero tools you've got, you manage your licensing and manage your developer network profile from your iPhone. So that's just an example, but quite a useful one for many hundreds of thousands of Embarcadero developers that want to stay in touch with their developer network profile. So yeah, thank you, David. And there's loads of events going on. Pavel, you wanted to make a comment before I do, so please, I did ask you to.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm really looking forward to more webinars in this series. So I hope that we'll have more and more people coming regularly and taking this as a relaxed opportunity to really talk and to exchange ideas and to have fun building new demos.
Yeah, I must admit, you had me going for a minute with your Meteor one. I was thinking, how on earth are you going to pull this back to the IDE overview demo that we discussed last night or whenever it was? But then, yep, you right-clicked and pushed your Meteor demo over to Mac. And then surpassed it even more by showing it on iOS. So yes, even I can still be surprised by XE2, and yeah, I hadn't seen that before. So that was really cool today to see that code go over and run on all the different types of platforms. But you did have me going for a minute there. I thought, how's he going to shoehorn this into that first one? But no, that was seamless. Well done, thank you.
Good one.
And there's plenty of places. I like Delphi feeds. It's got lots of stuff that's is independent site and drives through with stuff day by day that's relevant to Embarcadero developers. And then there's lots of events going on all around the planet. There's physical events with regards to probably, I don't know, about 80 events that I know that are going on through the European APAC regions. I know David and the guys have got a bunch going on in the US. There's Delphi Developer Days that Carrie, Jensen and Marco are running. They come back to Europe in May as well. We've been announcing events right through to the September timeframe. I know that the German guys have got a Delphi Targa, a Delphi Day. That's a date in your diary. I think it's the 20th of September, I think, that they were talking about next week. So loads of events going on through April now into May and June in all main European countries, and well, actually probably to say many European countries, as well as right through to APAC and the US. So globally, we're taking it to town still. And of course, the online webinars, we've got these going on weekly, and we'll be adding others in your local language. I know that we get a bit excited and we can start talking very quickly, which can be quite hard for people where English isn't their native tongue. So we'll do everything we can to bring you demos and comment and material in your local languages. There's also lots of articles and white papers coming through, not just on the technical level, but also the sort of business comment. It makes really does make business sense for many people not to run two development teams, one on Windows and one on Mac, and manage two code sources. So we're talking to many new developers as well, people that haven't coded in Delphi before, a lot of guys that I've got C++ code bases that want to shift it from Windows to Mac as they see this market emerging. So we'll see more and more. As you've seen today, there's people on this event that don't use Embarcadero tools currently, that are trying to find out all about it. So welcome to the family, welcome to the community, and it's open to all and anyone to for us to being committed to helping you improve what you do with our tools, and we're all in ourselves, in our teams, committed to becoming better developers day on day. So as we literally just tick up to the hour, just in time, I'd just like to say thank you very much for taking time out from your busy schedules to join us today. The Developer Direct continues on. I think it's Stephen and Pavel are going to be hosting this next week. I'm out and about next week. So you'll be glad of a change of voice through to next week's session, and we'll be letting you know content, material, and code that let us know if it's relevant, let us know what you need. And thanks very much. Great messages from Robert and Hans and Thierry and the guys. I'm glad if you've enjoyed it. Get onto Twitter. That's a really good way, a really open way that you can interact with everyone else that's interested, as well as us, of course. And with no further ado, I'll bid you a great weekend. And don't forget, there's plenty of coding time before you knock off for the weekend. But I know still many people don't knock off at the weekend. There's always just one more compile, isn't there, that we can do. So thanks very much, everyone. It's been a great first session of the first season of the Delphi Direct. And join us again next time for plenty more. Hope you've enjoyed it. Have a great weekend. Thanks. Bye-bye. Say goodbye, guys. See you. Bye.